Welcome back to the Magic Hour, everyone. Today we've got a very special guest, Renee. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Pumped to be here. Slightly nervous, but I like that.
And hi, Paul and Andrew. You're back this week.
It's been a while. Thanks for having us
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, apparently you've been doing podcasts without us, Ella.
Yep. So Renee's joining us today for a tasting. How are you feeling about that?
Look, I'm actually slightly nervous. Not so much to taste, but more what people might perceive me tasting as, I would say.
And would you like to give the listeners a little bit of an overview of why and a little bit about you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm the founder of World Vegan Guides, which essentially I started during university as a way to help people navigate and access vegan food around the world. And I started in Sydney with Sydney Vegan Guide. And then when I moved to Melbourne, I started Melbourne Vegan Guide. So, yeah, I've been vegan myself for literally 9 years, like this month, which is awesome. And vegetarian for 2 years before that as well. So, yeah, I'm on a mission, I guess, to make vegan food more accessible and approachable around the world. And social media plays a massive part in that. So I'm happy to eat and get paid. It's not a bad job.
Very fair. So that started 9 years ago, you said?
So I've been vegan for 9 years, but I think I started the guides maybe 8 years ago. Yeah, I was just in uni, very naive. And I remember someone first offered me, like, do you want a free tub of ice cream? I was like, free food? Like, this is amazing. And now it's like amazing that it's a business and we get paid to make content and ads and recipes and yeah.
And what kind of motivated you to explore veganism in the first place or to become vegetarian?
Well, my mum had terrible cooking. My mum would make us eat very random stuff like lamb that had been in the freezer for like 8 months. And I was very particular about the meat that I liked, like it was only mince or it was chicken breast. And I was actually in a musical, Charlotte's Web, and I was going out with the guy that played the pig. And I was like, this feels so weird to date a pig and eat pig, so I'll stop eating pig. And then I was like, you know what? If I say to mum I'm vegetarian, I don't have to eat these random meats that I don't like. I was like, this is a great plan. Until she was like, okay, cool, well, you can cook for yourself now. And I was like, what? But I have that to thank because I started getting in the kitchen. I started like a food blog online and, you know, seeing there's any other crazy vegetarians out there, which obviously social media there was plenty. Veg for 2 years. And then I think I never watched any of the hardcore vegan documentaries. There was another vegan food blogger online and I posted that tile that's like, keep calm, go vegetarian. And she was like, what about vegan? Like, you should try that. And I was like, oh, she's my hero. Like, I got to impress her. And I was working at Boost Juice drinking so much dairy, feeling terrible. So I was like, I'll do it for a month and see how I go. And then, yeah, did it for a month, did a bit more research and the rest is history.
Nice.
That's a very unique story about going vegan and
Haven't
dating someone
heard
who
that
was
one before.
picking up.
But I think that plays into the fact that for me, the animals were always at the forefront of it. Like at the time, I feel like 10, 12 years ago, I didn't know any vegans or vegetarians that were doing it for environmental reasons. Like there wasn't the science to that. There wasn't the science to health even. For me, it was like, it's all about the animals at the time. Yeah.
Nice. And what about the inspiration for starting the vegan guides? Was that always was that the first thing that you tried and you're like, oh yes, this has just worked and this is great? Or were there any other things that you sort of got into as well?
Yeah, like my friend had Newcastle Vegan Guide and I was moving to Sydney and she was like, you should start Sydney. And I was like, you know what, I'm studying media journalism. This could be good. But really, I'm just intrigued. I was like, I don't like wasting stomach space on bad food. So I was like, if I start a guide where I can find a way to eat good food, maybe other people will also like to find a way to eat good food. And so I was just doing it in uni as kind of a side hobby, just to find good meals in Sydney. And through my discovery, it also helped other people with their discovery. And then it kind of became like a brand and a business. And as I said, people sent me free products and wanted my opinion or a review on it. And then I remember my first paid gig and I was like, whoa, I've made it. I'm getting paid to eat. But also it really helped my journey to prove that vegan food wasn't just tofu and bland salads.
And how have you seen that change over that time? Because obviously, 8, 9 years ago, there was a very different offering in terms of vegan options than there is today.
Totally. We all are just so triggered by our mushroom risotto and and a chia pudding on a menu. I'm like, do better. Veganism has transformed in so many different ways over the last 10 years or 9 years. And going to a cafe and having 2 options and now having full menus that cater to you. It's like, I'm like, this is too much choice. Is this how normal people feel? Like, I mean, it's a blessing. But even the supermarkets, like, it's such a win to go there, like, even monthly, and just see the expansion of, like, products in market. It's, like, amazing. Like, I feel like even in country towns, you can get vegan options now. And it's way less taboo. It's way less, like, woohoo. And it's delicious. Yeah, there's pretty much nothing I miss now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing.
Speaking of, so how many years has it been since you've eaten meat then?
So my last meat meal was very intentional. I went to the pub with my granddad and we had a parma together, and my granddad is like meat and veg, like still thinks that it's crazy that I would ever even cut any of that out. And I remember like eating this chicken schnitzel and was like, this is my last one. And yeah, that was maybe 11, 12 years ago.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the last schnitty. Or the last animal-based schnitzel, yes.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the business side because we have a lot of, we've got a broad sort of variety of listeners to the podcast. Lots of people interested in the science, lots of people interested in the food, and then we've got listeners that are interested in the business as well.
Yeah.
And obviously my background is in the business. So I'm just wondering like what the experience was like with those, the first cafes or restaurants that you went to in terms of the vegan guides. Was it sort of a matter of like, do you mind if we film, is this okay sort of thing? Or did you just sort of just like, barge in there and we're just going to film this and we're going to do this and I'm going to put it online? Or
Yeah.
And how's that sort of evolved to the point where, as you said, you've got people, sending you products and, just that sort of journey and how that's evolved?
Yeah, it's actually crazy because I used to stand on chairs all the time with my camera, and people would be like, what is she doing? And I was so awkward and so uncomfortable and so like imposter syndrome around doing that. But then like, people would ask questions like, what are you doing? Like, oh, what's a food blogger? Like, how does that work? I spent years like hating doing it and feeling so uncomfortable about it. And I mean, today, obviously it's advanced. Like I don't even use my camera anymore. It's all reels now. It's all video content. And so that's transformed in such a way. But I think most of the time I would give them a heads up, like, hey, we're just going to film. But also like the conversations I would have with owners, like they thought they had a good vegan offering. And I would be like, this actually isn't that good. Yeah. Like you can't take off the eggs and feta and just be like, yep, that's same price. Like that'll do. I'm like, vegans don't want to like suffering by eating out. Like we want to feel just as normal and less like awkward and uncomfortable. And so I ended up consulting a lot for restaurants and like redeveloping menus and launching it and just like giving them access to better products out there. Like they don't know that there's a vegan feta on the market. And if they do, like that maybe they're not using the best one. So I always want businesses to be better. And people always ask like, what happens if you review somewhere that's like bad food? What do you do? I'm like, it's always a conversation behind the scenes. And I'm like, hey, are you open to feedback? And I think now you have to be good. Like there's a certain standard of vegan food on the market. Like you can't just get away with taking eggs and feta off now and like charging the same price.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And how did you get over that awkwardness of, standing on chairs and taking the pictures and that sort of thing? Because I think a lot of people would like to do something, not exactly the same, but, whether it's a different, business or business model, but that initial awkwardness, like how do you get over that? Is it just practice and you just made yourself do it and then over time it became more comfortable? Or?
It's crazy because I still feel that like now. I've been doing it for 9 years and like I still feel awkward about sometimes filming or like am I being intrusive? But like you just gotta remember this is your job, and like a doctor would never be like feel awkward about going to surgery and doing what he does best, like despite other people thinking, oh, that's so like woohoo. And yeah, I just really had to like own that I'm bringing value to the business, and like I've got stats, I've got data on like the success of like me coming in and reviewing or promoting it, and how many more customers they get as a result. Like that's a win for them. So I'm just trying to get them the win, Yeah. And if you know that there's value in what you're doing, then I'm just like, whatever. And most of the time, anyone that's looking at you and taking the mickey, they're just jealous that they're not getting paid to eat or like doing it, Like there's still people that are like, will judge it. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, this is my job and I need to like pay my bills and treat this as that. So yeah.
And do you have any background in sorry, I'm asking all the questions.
No, I love
it. I'm sure our listeners will be interested, if you have any background in food or education around or in food or food science or anything like that. Like what is your background?
Yeah, so no real qualifications in food. Like I've worked in hospitality my whole life and like love hospitality and love I'm a massive foodie, but in terms of like the scientific stuff, absolutely not. I think the science for me around the diet of plant-based or vegan, whatever you want to call it, has really only come into my life in the last like 4 to 5 years, which I have Simon Hill to thank for that. And like I've nerded out on his retreats and like understanding the science of food. And now I'm like people ask me, has like veganism changed for you over the years? I'm like, yeah, the reason why I'm vegan is way different than when it was in the beginning.
Yeah. Interesting. But that shows you can do anything that you want, right? You don't have to have a background in...
100%. I think like the biggest, like everyone wants to be an influencer. Everyone wants to be a foodie. Like for me, I'm just like, I was just so interested, and like, don't try and get into it to be interesting. If you're just interested, it hopefully will resonate. And I think I saw the gap in the market is like people's perceptions around what veganism look like. Like I want to, my mission and with the guides is like make it accessible and approachable. So like I won't use words like meat is murder. I won't shame people. Like I just want to be like, look how delicious this is. Look at me running a half marathon. Oh yeah, I'm vegan. Like that's my that's how I advocate for veganism, I think. And I appreciate people that do all the other stuff, but for me it's just like lead by example, make it look delicious and fun. And like I started a vegan cheesecake business when I was 19 and like did market stores. I had no idea what we were doing, losing money at this point, like terrible business. But I think like being naive and just like interested really was the reason it became successful.
Yeah, for sure. Just one last one, and I'll let Andrew and Ali get into it. But obviously, we're in Melbourne. Melbourne Vegan Guide's really big.
Yeah.
I certainly follow the page a lot, and I get a lot of tips on where to go and eat myself from there. So I'm just wondering, how that evolved in Melbourne, and just for anyone that's listening that hasn't seen the guides. I mean, obviously Instagram's the major channel. At Melbourne Vegan Guide.
Yeah, someone took Melbourne. How rude.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll buy it off you, whoever you are.
But just for anyone that doesn't know, like, do you want to just talk a little bit about the content on those pages? And we're talking about the guides, but what are you actually doing? So what can people go and see, and how will it help them?
Cool. Like for me, I eat with my eyes, and I think a lot of people do. Like I know people go to cafes and they're like, oh, look at what the photo they have online, and I'll order that dish. And that's how I eat, and I have eaten for years. So I understand that like visually, like people want to see what the food looks like and they want to know where to go and get it. And the guides for me have always been like literally guiding people to like better plant-based options around cities. And when I moved to Melbourne, I was like, oh no, I can't leave Sydney. My business is there. But I ended up employing someone up in Sydney to do a lot of the reviews. And then, just started in Melbourne. And through that, like it's evolved so much. It was all photos, now it's reels. But every day we'll do a repost or a post of where you can go and get a meal. And then filtered through all that will be like ads with recipes with certain supermarkets or brands, and then like supermarket finds. Like really it's just like a page to where you can go to find products or vegan options. And like people always say like, oh, why are you promoting places that aren't 100% vegan? And I'm like, because like we've already got the vegan market is already won. Like we already know the vegan business is there. Like I want to put the pressure on the other guys to start catering. And so like if a cafe has one vegan option and I promote it, and now like they're getting vegans in their door, maybe they'll be like, oh, there's actually a market for vegans out there. I'll start adding more stuff. So look, you're never going to win, but I'm pretty hardcore on like my mission and won't stray too far from that.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I'll be quiet now and let everyone else get a word in.
Just following on from what you said, Renee, my family, I'm the plant-based person in our family.
Yes, you're the woohoo.
And so you reviewing places where there's a great vegan option, and hopefully more than one option, and it's super useful for me because I know, oh wow, there's going to be good food there, or stay away. But one thing I'm slightly worried about after consuming some of your content, are we going to end up on Weird Food Wednesday? It is Monday.
Oh my
at the
God.
moment.
Weird Food Combo Wednesday is just so much fun. And I feel like it's just people watching us suffer. For those that haven't seen it, they just want us to pair, and people submit like weird food pairings. And just for some behind the scenes, we film like 10 of them in a day. So we are eating like the weirdest combinations back to back in one go. By the end, we're like, we feel so unwell. But no, unless you want to do some cultivated meat with weird food combos, we could try.
Let's start with no combos.
Okay.
Also really wanted to say thanks for the content that you put out.
Thank you.
Similar to Paul in terms of the places that I wouldn't have thought to go to get delicious options is
Oh, you're
magic.
so welcome. I'm an encyclopedia of like places you can go, and I have planned people's proposals. I've planned family dinners. I planned so much stuff. People message me all the time asking me for recommendations, and so happy to share them because I'm super passionate about don't waste stomach space on bad food. So I will find you the best recommendation in your city.
Absolutely.
Are you the only plant-based person in your family? Like there's no one else?
Yeah, my 2 very large meat-eating sons and
Okay.
my wife are all. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm the same. Like, it's crazy. People are like, what, your family's not vegan? You're like the vegan girl. Yeah, same. All my parents, none of my siblings, like, they're all hardcore meat eaters. Interesting.
Which is partly why it's useful for me to be working in a company that's making a cultivated meat product that
Yeah.
is going to solve a few of the issues. I'm kind of interested what you know about cultivated meat.
Well, I first heard about it with Simon Hill on his retreat, and we were talking about the future of food and the future of like plant-based eating, and he was kind of saying, oh, it's a bit controversial, like I'm not sure whether vegans will respond to it, like, and again, he's a massive science guy, so I was like, oh, like, would you eat it? Like, would I eat it? Like, that's the first time I'd ever really heard of it, and like, it's still taking me a while to get my head around like what it is and why vegans don't agree with it or why they may not, and whether I'm going to agree with it. But from my understanding, it is lab grown meat taken from the cell of an animal. Correct. Okay. Yeah. Phew, nailed that. Do my research. Yeah. And I've been like excited for this. Like, I'm ready for this. I think the world has to be ready for this. Like today I am just as much ethically vegan as I am sustainably and environmental, and for my health as well. And I think whilst I don't agree with what's happening in the meat and dairy industry in Australia, I also understand and respect that can't be shut down tomorrow. Like these are people's lives, and there's a huge education piece that needs to come into it. And I'm so grateful that people like you are doing the work. And I think this is the future of food. And why we haven't called normal meat slaughtered meat is beyond me. I think like if people are turning their nose up because the cultivated industry is being transparent about what they're doing, then like you should turn your nose up about the reality of what slaughtered meat is doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We get a lot of criticism because, it's made in a laboratory. And even from within the industry, people don't want you to say laboratory because it has bad connotations.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of food is already, the food that people eat every day is made in laboratories.
Like your chickpeas in a tin, like that's gone through a process, like processing. So I think, because the name of cultivated meat has changed, is that right? It was something else?
It's been through a few iterations.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
lab grown, clean
Yeah.
meat, cultured meat, now
Yeah.
it's cultivated.
Well, how do you guys feel about the current term that it sits in?
So cultivated is all right.
Okay.
I think there needs to be some description so that consumers know that it has been produced differently, so
Yeah.
that they can make an active choice and
Yeah.
not have something forced upon them. Options like clean meat probably has too many
Yeah.
connotations.
Yeah.
Cultured meat is another one that's used, but there's a lot of foods that are cultured in different ways.
Yeah.
So that each term has different meanings.
It's all a bit vague, isn't it?
Yeah, and when as Andrew said, we don't love the term lab grown meat, but that's the one most people understand.
Yeah.
Because,
Oh, it's meat that's grown in a lab. Cool. Therefore, I can eat it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And sorry,
I was going to say, no, you go.
You go. we talk too much together. Lab grown makes sense if you're growing in
Yeah.
a lab, but ultimately it's not going to be grown in a laboratory. It's going to be in a factory. And
Yeah.
it's like really large.
You don't want to call it
factories.
factory meat, right? 'Cause
No.
then I wish it could just be called sustainable meat.
Or just meat.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, why again? If we have to label like this as something, why I think we should be then labeling like animal slaughtered meat as slaughtered meat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that probably is a good point, that there should be better communication to consumers about what they are buying and the behind the scenes of that.
100%. We've hidden the reality of what is on your plate for so long. And if you guys now, bringing something like this into the world, have so many rules and regulations around how you talk about it, how you market it, what it's called, well, I think that should be the same across the industry. Like,
We do too, but the incumbent industry
course.
has a lot of power and pays a lot of taxes in
Yeah.
every country around the
Yeah.
world. So
Yeah.
it's going to be fun.
I fully respect the work you're doing. Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of push and pull, but in 10, 20 years' time, I think the food landscape will look completely different as a result of your hard work.
I think so too, and I think there's a lot of people around the world putting in a lot of really good hard work. And for people that are interested, I think looking at it's sites like the Good Food Institute and things, there's some really, really good information out there.
Because once you have a product like yours available are you hoping for it to be a similar pricing point to like nutritionally, like what does that look like?
Great questions. So, look, ideally for us, in terms of price, once we're at scale, we imagine we'll be even cheaper than traditionally farmed meat.
Wow.
And that will only continue to come down over time because we know the price of traditionally farmed meat is going to continue to go up as well, just from a supply and demand and resources perspective. Nutritionally, I mean, yes, molecularly the meats are identical, but we've got the ability to tailor it as well.
Yeah.
So, we're growing at components of meat products at the moment. So it can be higher fat, it can be lower fat, it could be higher protein, could be lower protein, fortified with different vitamins and minerals, etc. So we've got the ability. I mean, it's going to be just a superior product all around.
Yeah, because health benefits, sustainable benefits, animal benefits. Wow.
How do you feel about tasting cultivated meat? You're talking about how you've always been vegan for the animals. How do you feel cultivated meat resolves those ethical issues in a way that makes you feel okay about eating meat? And do you think other vegans agree, or do you know what other vegans are thinking about cultivated meat?
I don't think other vegans are thinking about it, and the ones that are, I don't think they approve. I'd love, before I answer this, I'd love to know what you guys think of that argument.
Well, I mean, that's really interesting because that was my fear when starting the company in terms of, backlash from the animal rights community or, the vegan community. Our experience has been different to that, and they've been very supportive.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of vegans come to our tastings and who want to try the product.
Yeah.
And they love it, and they might not necessarily want to eat it themselves ongoing, but they know they can recommend it to their friends and family who aren't vegan as an alternative for them. And so we've found them overwhelmingly supportive.
That's awesome.
We'll see what happens moving forward.
I think I'm prepared to cop the backlash and the controversy over me tasting today. I think, and I mean, you guys can tell me this better, but I'm not sure vegans are even your market. It's the vegan's partner or the vegan's family that are so against it. And if I could have the exact same nutritional profile, I don't know why I'm talking like Jim Bro, but maybe they're the market. But if I could have if I could have the exact same product, what is their argument? If you're literally given a better option, the same price with better nutritional substance in it, that doesn't impact the environment in the way that slaughtered meat does, why wouldn't you take it? That is the only excuse people have, right? Because they really like the taste of meat. And I don't think a lot of vegans that have gone vegan really love the taste of meat. Sure, there might be a certain percentage of them, but I'm not one of them. I don't really miss meat that much, but I am super excited about what this product can do for my friend or my partner or a family member. So yes, to answer your question, I'm intrigued, but I'm also, it might be overwhelming for me because I don't love that meaty taste. And for me, the second I have something that even remotely resembles that, I think about the animal, right? But this is do I start thinking about the lab when I eat it? I don't know. Because technically the cell is taken from the animal. So is that not vegan? How do you,
Well, I mean, cultivated meat in general is going to throw, or cellular agriculture is going to throw out those definitions, and those labels around vegan, because yes, it's a real meat product. It comes from an animal, but
but can I ask a statistic around the cell that's taken? How many burger patties or how much meat product, cultivated meat product would you get out of that?
I'll let Andrew answer that.
Okay.
So we start with a 5 millimeter biopsy of skin. With the pig, it was from a hole punch through the ear, which was being done anyway. They're tagging.
Yeah.
So half a centimetre of diameter of skin. We never need to go back to the animal. We set up master cell banks and working cell banks from that after we've turned the cells into the stem cell technology that we use. So the answer to your question is there is no limit.
Wow. From that one, okay.
Yeah.
So like we would still need animals, but nowhere near the billions of animals that are being slaughtered every day.
So the only reason we would need to go to a new animal was if we were developing a new product from a different species.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Or we wanted to take advantage of genetics of an animal that is supposedly super tasty. Or you were working in a new country and they wanted to eat Mongolian lamb.
Sure. Okay.
So, but otherwise, we don't need to go back to the animal.
That's
at all.
amazing.
And the animal, it's done under anaesthesia, and they just go on living.
Wow. See, I think we actually need vegans supporting this because the impact that this can have is massive. And so if the vegans turn around, and if I turned around and was like, nah, I don't support this because of that, you're actually blocking like such a huge impact. And for me, impact is the biggest and most important thing. Oh my God, the food's here.
So we have a special guest now.
Behind
Hi,
the camera,
Wendy.
we have Wendy, who is delivering this morning's cooking.
Okay, I haven't eaten meat. The thing is, like, there's mock meat products on the market, but like, they don't taste like this, right?
No, they don't.
Oh my gosh.
No, they don't.
Okay, what have we got? I'll describe it because I know this is a.
So we have a pork dumpling
Okay.
and a lamb meatball.
Okay.
Yeah. This is Wendy's Creations, our Moroccan
Thank
lamb
you,
meatball.
Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy.
I guess it's interesting because once you start with one animal, like the limit doesn't really exist around what kind of meat you can do, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're really keen to look at the aquatic species next. So obviously, fish, crustaceans, etc. I mean, again, from the impact side of things.
Yeah.
So whether that's to do with sustainability or the environment, or just the sheer volume of creatures that we take out of the ocean for food. So
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. It's really unlimited.
Wow. Okay. Should I do this?
Yeah, go for
Okay.
it.
What should I start with? The meatball or the pork dumpling?
What did you quit first? Did you ever eat more pork or lamb?
I think I quit lamb. Yeah, let's do the meatball. This is lamb meatball.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Here
How
we
you
go.
feeling? How you feeling?
I don't
Talk us through
know.
it.
Don't be offended if I don't finish it, only because I don't know if I like the taste of it. Okay. Wow. And is it meant to smell like it as well? Like. Oh my God, it's so chewy. Wow. Yeah. That's insane. It actually like replicates what I recall meat to taste like. Even the aftertaste, the chewiness, like I feel like you've got that. Whoa, that's that is crazy. Okay. Yeah, but it's good though. Like it's yum. Like, yeah, I guess I just didn't know what I was missing because it's been so long. But I would eat that. Yeah. And I actually don't think you'd put that product in front of someone and they would know that that's not vegan. I'm sorry, that's not farmed meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're going in for the pork dumpling? Mm-hmm. Okay. We're just going to do the whole thing in one go. Here we go. Wow. Okay. That one feels even more real. Yeah. That is literally a pork dumpling. Wow. Congratulations. That's crazy. So have I just like broken veganism? Am I cancelled now?
Hand your card back. Yeah, that's right.
Wow. This is crazy. This excites me. Tasting this excites me. Like I actually think in 20 years' time, we're going to have a world that it will be so weird that people ever ate slaughtered meat as a result of like tasting that. Like that's what I hope for. I hope that it's bizarre. And in fact, in uni, I did a project on, we had to like do a museum exhibit, and I did a museum exhibit where like it was the history of like farmed animals and like in 100 years' time, how weird was it that people like did that? And the canteen meat was like all like sustainable, like lab grown meat, and here I am tasting this. Wild. Well done, guys.
It is crazy stuff. How does that feel? Like, what are the thoughts going through your head?
Yeah, I think it's like, it is a massive brain thing, right? Because like you're like, okay, that's not an animal. It's okay to eat that, you know? For me, like I have a pretty guilty conscience if I like had slipped up and there was cheese and something. I'm like, oh no, I stuffed up. But yeah, I can eat that. That's not, wow, oh my God. That excites me of like what's possible. I'd love to taste chicken. Like I think chicken was like so heavy in my diet when I ate meat. But yeah, you guys have nailed that.
Thank you.
What have other reactions been?
Fairly similar from
Okay.
people that are vegan.
Yeah.
I think it's been quite similar, actually.
Yeah, from meat eaters,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I thought I was going to be able to taste it different.
Yeah.
That's just tastes like the pork dumpling I had last week.
Literally. It actually makes me emotional because the impact that this and these products can have can solve so many issues. Like, just think, and people actually don't have any choice or excuse anymore. Well, once this goes to market, you know? Yeah, this is exciting. And I'd love to see like on menus, legislation around like, you have to have a sustainable option or alternative or just get rid of it. Like, how do they argue with that? You can't. If it tastes as good, nutritionally it can be even better, which is also awesome, right? Because you can manipulate a product to have better nutritional value and therefore prevent probably way more diseases than we're seeing as a result of farmed animals. Wow, the animals would be so grateful for your work. If only they could tell me. Yeah, well done.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes, I don't know where to go from here. That was such a really fabulous reaction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To eating our products. I don't know. I don't know about you, Paul and Ella, but it makes me feel quite proud.
100%. I feel very lucky to see it whenever somebody's like, I haven't eaten meat in this many years and I'm going to like try it this time for this reason. Like I find that really like, I don't know, inspirational and very supportive. I think it's really, really amazing to see how
Thank
many
you.
people are so passionate about the same mission that we're working on. Yeah.
I think, and like I'm sure vegans will listen to this. I think if you're a vegan, you're listening to this and you're like, oh, why would she taste that? Why would she do that? Like I would say like, you define veganism for you. And this is my problem. Like I don't label myself as like this hardcore strict vegan, and like knowing if I promote this and the impact this could have and create a safe space for other people to try this or change their minds about it, like I'm here for this. And this will have way more impact. This product and this going to market and this having the exposure and the love that it deserves as a result of your work, this will have way more impact than you staying vegan and in your strict ways and letting the general population go on and eat farmed meat. Like this needs our support, and I'm so happy to support this, and I'm so happy for people to not agree that I'm supporting this, but this has to be the future of food, like without a doubt. Like we actually, what we're doing to the planet, like is not sustainable. And like part of the reason I know some people aren't having kids is because they're like, well, will the kids even have a place they can grow up in a safe way? So this, God, I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's
I'm like, how soon? You're like, don't ask.
No, but I really appreciate you coming on and coming on the podcast and also trying the products and supporting the products for those exact reasons. Because, you know, as you said, veganism for everybody is a very personal choice and how they view it and how they came to that. And then being able to have as big an impact as possible is what, you know, drives me and drives us, and for those exact reasons that you mentioned. So, no, I really appreciate you coming and trying the products.
What do you hope to achieve with these products going to market? And like, how soon do you think the response, I mean, if you look at the States and what's happening there, like how quickly are people responding to this in restaurants or in homes?
Yeah, so I mean, we're still obviously working towards, you know, regulatory approval and having our products available in Australia. The mincemeat products will be our first product, so there's obviously both mincemeat products, the pork and the lamb. But we're really looking at you know, wholesale producers and mainstream adoption, and so being able to get to that point where it's readily available,
Yeah.
you know, in your usual outlets, you know, not just, you know, restaurants and cafes, but, you know,
Yeah.
your supermarkets, your fast
Yeah.
food chains, etc.
Yeah.
To get as much uptake and adoption as quickly as possible. Obviously, there's some scaling to do and all of that sort of thing,
Yeah.
and, you know, partnerships and with existing companies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're really working towards with those first two products. And then, as you know, we've discussed, you know, looking at other. I hate using this word, but, you know, animals or products or species, for example.
Yeah.
But producing those products, and then different, you know, beyond mincemeat as well. So
Yeah.
you know, other, you know, chunks and strips and that sort of thing. And everyone
Wow.
obviously, you know, asks us about steak and chops and
Yeah.
fillets, which again, you know, that's going to take some time, but, you know, eventually we'd like to get to that stage.
Because roughly how long does one product take you to develop?
5 years.
Wow. Okay.
That's a difficult question
Yeah.
to answer. Andrew can obviously talk to the science a little bit
Yeah.
more, but I mean, the process is fairly similar across the species and products. Andrew, I don't know if you'll know.
Well, it depends what you mean by product. If you mean a product that's regulated and selling on the market, then we have a number of hurdles to go through in terms of regulatory approval
Yeah.
and scalability
Yeah.
to go through still. But in terms of to get you one of those from another species, it probably takes us 3 to 6 months to go from the initial biopsy from the animal to a reproducible cell line that we can use to make products.
Could you label these products as cruelty-free? Like, where because obviously, like, technically there's, like, vegan and then there's cruelty-free, right? Like, it's not tested on animals, therefore it's cruelty-free. Like, how does that dialogue? I mean, it might not be something you've thought about, but...
That's an interesting question.
Because is the animal suffering when you take the cell? Like...
I'd strongly argue no. I mean, the other one that gets mentioned, I'm not really sure what the criteria is for the labelling in terms of cruelty free, but the other one we get asked about is RSPCA approved as well.
Yeah.
You know, which really relates to, you know, the processes and
Totally.
but we've got a completely different process, right? So you know, we get asked similar questions.
But
I'm
let's
not
be
sure.
honest, they're approving chicken,
Yeah.
like farm chicken. So
yeah.
I wouldn't really, and they're selling sausage sizzles to raise money for the animals. Like that's a whole other conversation. But
It absolutely is a whole another conversation.
I think your biggest, like, the hardest thing is going to be the education around this, right? Because, like, people don't understand, but also people there needs to be more transparency, I think, across food in general. Like, people see, cultivated meat, not realizing that half the stuff they're eating is processed or cultivated. And there's good processing, there's bad processing. And I think social media has a massive role here to, like, educate and raise awareness for this, but also social media also has been a downfall, right? Because everyone sees these labels or these influencers with no actual credibility talking about these products in, like, you know, scarcity around food. Like, and that's why I'm glad it wasn't called, like, clean meat, or, like, because I think that's vague.
Yeah, 100%. I think one thing that I've seen on social media that's developed as, like, a trend in the past year, definitely, like, more than ever, is the carnivore diet, like the full-on organic, like, you know, like, this is the clean way to eat. Like, you need to just eat, like, steak off of a wooden board with, like, raw eggs and like all of that kind of stuff is kind of being promoted as, like, this is the ancestral diet. It's so natural. You don't, like, have any nasty things in this, and it's like could not be further from the truth.
But this ancestral argument, I'm like, cool, look at what we were doing as, like, you can't say, oh, I need to eat like the caveman were, because you aren't living like a caveman in all other aspects of your life but your diet. Like, you're using a phone, you're riding a car, like, okay, buddy, you want to live like a caveman, strip it all back. This argument around that I find so weak. And I think once people taste this and understand what it is, like, it's a yes.
Yeah.
It has to be a yes.
And just, like, the processing that meat goes through currently is less safe and more, like, it uses more hormones, more, like, antibiotics. Like,
It's so unnatural.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's science around the disease that's happening as a result of eating processed meats from an animal. But also, I want to talk about the mental health of the people working within that industry. Like,
100%.
I can't imagine anyone working in a slaughterhouse or driving those beef buses are having a good time and loving life. Like, statistically, you can see and you can research their mental health because they are having to literally slaughter animals at the hands of your diet. And I think if you want to eat animal, go and do it yourself. And I think if there's products like this, way more job opportunities in time as it grows, and also way more job opportunities that are going to benefit the worker. Like, humans don't want to be doing this. They're probably doing it to make a buck. And that's where I think the government needs to come into this and provide education and a transition process from farm meat to cultivated meat.
Yeah, I think saying a transition, a full transition, will be pretty scary for government and for the incumbent industry. But providing a choice, and I'd also make the point that all the companies around the world that have released products, there's a couple in the US, a couple in Singapore, no company yet is able to meet demand.
Yeah.
So
wow.
So it's the demand is out there.
Yeah.
But the ability to supply enough product needs to grow, and that is your classic valley of death for companies to go from proof of concept.
Because once you're out there, right?
Full industrial commercialization.
That's really awesome to hear that people want it, and they're ready for it. And I think if you are given a better choice in any aspect of your life that has better outcomes for all, of course you would take it.
Awareness has certainly grown over the past 3 to 4 years, and that education piece, I agree, is really important. And even from the research that we've done, if you talk to people and you're like, oh, do you want to try cultivated meat? And if they've never heard about it, they're just an immediate no, because it's new, it's weird, I don't know what that is.
100%.
Then you sit down with them and explain to them what it is, what are the benefits of it, and the response changes to, yeah, I'd try that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just an education and awareness.
Yeah, and an open mind, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that blows my mind is the school kids that will contact us, and they know the industry backwards already.
Really?
It's
that
quite
makes me
astounding.
happy.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. We're raising a better generation when it comes to food choices. That's awesome. I would just say, tasting this today makes me excited for the future of food, and this has to be the future of food. And even if it's too meaty for my taste buds, that's going to cater to the grandparents, the people that do have, and you can't shame people for enjoying the taste of meat, but I could maybe have a bit more shame or judgment around their choices when it comes to what meat they're buying and choosing. So once this is available, it's a no-brainer. The aftertaste is still in my mouth. It's weird. This has been the most mindful eating experience I've had in a very long time. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, if you're listening and you want to know more about cultivated meat, feel free to jump on our website at magicvalley.com.au. We also have LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X
Threads.
is called now, isn't it?
X.
And Threads, yeah.
And Renee, where does everyone find you online if they want to follow the guides?
I'm scared to tell in case they come at me. Do you know what? I actually heard Rich Roll try cultivated meat, and I know that he's a hardcore vegan, and I was like, you know what? That makes me a lot more calm in my choices to try it. So I support other people to also have open minds and hearts about this. So you can come find me and not slam me at Melb Vegan Guide, Sydney Vegan Guide, or Renee_Buckingham on Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in.